Hello, everybody. Welcome to our painting night live. I'm just stirring up my paints again. I mixed some of these up last night, but welcome. We're going to do a bunch of dustpan pours this evening. 3 different variations, 3 different ways to approach a dustpan pour. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun and hopefully informative, and hopefully you'll give them a try. And hopefully we get some good painting. So I'm really excited about this evening. Welcome, Susan and Pat have joined us already. Awesome. So I have got a bunch of paints mixed up. So I'll talk all about my colors that I chose. I didn't mix these like I had mixed the previous kind of 2 demonstrations where I used one color in all the other colors. These are all just kind of a collection of different colors. And I'll just show you what I had. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do for each of these paintings. So I'm going to be using a bunch of these colors, probably in all 3 of our demos tonight. So just checking here. So I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. So I've got colors here. I've got colors here. I've got 3 different dustpans. I've got 3 different canvases ready to go. So let's get started. And I'll show you my colors first. I've got to pull all the tops of these off of here. Some of them I mixed prior. Some of them I just mixed a little bit ago. But I have to pull off all the tops and show you what we got. So I have mostly they're a cool color palette. I've got blues and greens and purples and some silver and some lighter colors. So I'll show you these in a second. And all right, there we go. So let me get rid of all these first. All the tops. Put those over here. Okay, let's flip the camera over and take a look at our colors. And here we go. So here are the colors for this evening. Actually, I got more over here. These are the smaller batch of colors. I missed a top also. So I've got 3 different base coat colors. I have got a really dark, kind of a black, more of a grayish black color. It's not black. I forgot what I even put in there, but there's black. There's maybe a little blue in here. Actually, I know what it is in here. There's black, and there is some pale blue from Master's Touch in this color right here. It makes kind of a nice, kind of a grayish color, but it's kind of it's on a cool gray, but I kind of like that. Then I've got a kind of a metallic teal color here. This one is the color I've been using a lot lately, metallic cobalt blue, along with a little silver, I believe, just to lighten it up, and a little bit of white, I think, just to make it a touch lighter, but it's mostly the metallic cobalt blue. This one here is a leftover cup of paint. It's just a lot of dark cobalt metallic blue again, and some black. I wanted to have it as an extra little dark value in our color palette here. So these are kind of going to be base coats and maybe some extra stuff in our color palette. Then I have a white. This is more of a white. I've added a little bit of purple in here. So it's a very, very, very subtle shade of like pinkish purple, I guess. But mostly it's just white. I hope I have enough of this. I'm going to be using this in our last painting, which is a 16 by 20. So hopefully there's enough. I'm going to try to conserve that one. So here are our other colors. So I didn't really know exactly, because we're doing 3 different demos. I didn't want to mix up 3 completely different color schemes. So I mixed up a variety of colors, and we're just going to kind of use them all together in our dustpan pour. So I have a light and kind of a medium to darker value purple. I've got the same with the blues, a lighter blue and a kind of a medium blue, a lighter green, a little bit darker green, and I've got some silver, and I've got some gold. And this is gold plus silver. So it's a little more of a subtle gold, not so intensely yellowish gold. And I'll show you what these are made of. This blue here is, again, this pale blue from Master's Touch. It's very pretty blue. I like that one quite a bit. This green here, this lighter green is Bright Aqua Green. Bright Aqua Green from Liquitex Basics. This is again our metallic cobalt blue. I'm using a ton of this. And I also added a touch of black to this, I believe, or perhaps it was Payne's Gray. I just wanted to get this one a little bit darker than this base coat color. So you can kind of see this one is lighter and this one is darker. So I just wanted a little shift in value. And as far as our purples go, this purple here is a very pretty metallic purple from Artist Loft. I love this purple and use it quite a bit. I haven't used it in a while though, so I wanted to use this as a very bright, kind of brilliant purple. And then this color here is the purple from Master's Touch, which is a very kind of weird color to me because it's almost a pinkish purple. I mean, look at the difference between, purples. There's so many differences between all the different brands and their purples. But this is kind of a weird purple, but I really, really like it a lot. And so this is mostly white in here. Actually, I wrote it down because I love this color that I made. It's about half silver. So there's about actually 60% silver in this, about 30% white in this cup, and then about 10% of our Master's Touch purple. So it's a very kind of pearlescent light shade of like a lilac. It's a very pretty color. So I wrote this down just so I could remember what's in here. And that's a good tip. If you do some custom mixing and you like the color that you've created, let me put the top on here. You can, I don't want to tip it because I'll dump all the paint over, but you can write on the side. I'll show you maybe what I wrote on here as we get going. But I wrote just 60% silver, 30% white, about 10% Master's Touch, or MT for short, purple. So, and then this one here is, this is also the pale blue. Actually, no, this is kind of a mixture. It's mostly white and a touch of a leftover paint I had, but that leftover paint I think was the blue-green. So I just wanted a lighter shade of blue that wasn't a really bright blue. I wanted a little bit more neutralized. So it's a tiny bit of the blue-gray and mostly white in here to get kind of a lightish blue color. And then silver, regular old silver, and then our kind of mixture, about 50% silver, 50% gold for this kind of more pale gold, which I really, really like. And Lily has got a question, and it's, what is the name of the Master's Touch color? It's, well, this one here, this Master's Touch blue is the pale blue. And then this Master's Touch color is just called purple, but it's a weird purple, but they just call it purple. So that's their purple. But I did a mixture to make this interesting, more pearlescent, lighter, kind of a lilac, purpley violet color. So, but those are what the two Master's Touch colors are. And okay, so let me flip back here. So those are the colors. I just wanted to go over them before I started throwing them all around. So it's not really any particular color scheme. I guess it would be kind of closely related to more of an analogous color scheme because we've got kind of purples and then some blues and then some greens. So it's kind of an analogous, but it's mostly kind of the cool colors because they're all kind of on the cool side of the color wheel. So I don't know exactly how I'll use them in our dustpans, but I wanted a wide variety to choose from. So that's why I mixed all these up. And I'll be using these again in probably other paintings as well. So I'll move all these off to the side here. And I've got a new tool to show you. We'll test it out and see what happens to it. I just got it last night. I haven't tried it yet, but it's a new way to create like a dustpan pour or some other pours you might be interested in. I'll talk about that in a second. It's right over here. So we'll see how it works. So let me move my kind of paints around and let's get started with our first demo. I'm going to just slide all these over here. And the first one I have a 12 by 16 ready to go. So we're going to do two 12 by 16s and one 16 by 20 at the end. And they're all going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be using a small dustpan for the first one, my new tool for the second one, and then a larger dustpan for the third one. We're going to do something different and fun in that one. So if you have any questions as we're going along, throw them in the comments. And I'm just going to check and see if I missed anything while I was talking all about colors. I don't think so, except for Lily's question. And oh, that's cool. Kathy is liking the mother color idea that we're working with. And next week, we're going to talk all about the mother color and some other ways to go about incorporating that in your paintings. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. But it is a fun concept. So let's see here. Cool. All right. I think hopefully I answered Lily's question. And oh, thanks, Lily. She said she saw the dustpan pour earlier this week and really liked it. So that's awesome. Thank you. And both of them are behind me. This is one of the demos we did. The dustpan pour walkthrough demo is this one, the blue one. And then the one behind me is a YouTube video I did Monday. So two different types. They're kind of similar in their style. But this one was a ring pour that we poured into our dustpan. This one is more of a direct pour. And that's what we're going to start with for our first demo, more of a direct pour right in our dustpan. So let's see. Let me flip the camera and we'll get going. So here we go. So here's our 12 by 16. I'm going to fill the dustpan first, then I'll put down a base coat and we'll get that covered. But I'm going to be using my little one again, and I've lined it with masking tape like I showed before, just to increase the size of these walls so the paint doesn't run down the handle or overflow the sides of this little tiny dustpan. And that really works pretty well. And I've got a couple of, these are empty rolls of tape as little props, so I can kind of prop these up if I need to, and to fill our dustpan. And so here we go. This first one is going to be a direct pour. I'm going to be just pouring color straight into the dustpan. A lot of drizzling of color, kind of some pools of color, and just anything kind of really goes. And I'm going to be using, I think, our turquoise green as our base coat. So I'm going to start by putting a little bit of this in our dustpan first, just to give it a little bit of a slick surface. And that should be the last color to come out of the dustpan. And it'll blend in with the base coat because that's the base coat color. And so we should be able to get all of the other colors we put in here to kind of flow out from our dustpan. So there we go. Just a little base coat in our dustpan to start. And I think I'm going to start and just drizzle in some. Now you can do this kind of any way you want. I'm going to be doing a combination of things. Kind of some just mixtures, like drizzling / kind of little pools of color. I'm not really too worried about keeping it pretty or anything like that, or doing like a puddle pour or anything. Here's that dark purple. I want some dark in there. And maybe I'll put a little bit of this gold. And you can use more colors or less colors. I want to kind of go easy with the gold and more of a, come on, there we go. Kind of just like thin ribbons of color. And let's see, what else? Maybe a little bit of, I use the dark purple. Let's go with some of this light purple color. So these are fun to do just because you can do pretty much whatever you want. You don't have to follow any rules. And maybe a little more of our dark teal. Maybe I want a little more. I want maybe a little more of our purple. Purple and gold in this one would be kind of cool. And a little more of our kind of pink. And I'm not trying to put in a specific amount. I'm just trying to fill this dustpan up. And it's pretty full right now. So I think I'm going to actually remove this small tape and then kind of raise that up to give myself a little more room. So to keep the paint from falling out of the dustpan, I'll put a little more gold in, I think. I'd like to have a little gold on top, perhaps. And maybe that'll be it, I think. So we got kind of a weird combination of colors, some greens, some purples, that pink color, gold. I don't have a lot of light value colors in there, but it's kind of full now. And that's okay because that pink color is a fairly light value color. So I do have a range of kind of lights or kind of mid values to dark values. So that's all right. I think I'll just leave it and let it go at that. And I'm going to move this aside. If I can find a spot to move it, I'm just going to put it right next to me here. And let's see. And let's put on our base coat. So I'm going to do another kind of a flood coat. This one I'll do a little different, perhaps. I'll show you another. It's a little bit faster way to do a flood coat. You can kind of help it along a little bit. If you kind of use your hand to kind of run some of that paint over the edges. It makes it a lot easier for the paint to flow over your edges and corners instead of having just the dry canvas. The only problem is it gets paint like all over your hands, but that's not that big of a deal. But it goes a little quicker too. So just going to bring that paint back down. And you don't have to do a flood coat. You can just spread it out with your palette knife if you want to. I'll pour on a little more paint, but I'm going to just pick some up off my table. And again, just spread it around, finger painting. Just to get that canvas wet and saturated, and then the paint will flow over a whole lot easier. I'll probably have to add a little more. Yep. Okay. This is kind of a boring part. And I don't do a lot of flood coats, so that's why I'm not super fast with them. But we're getting the job done. There we go. So I got everything covered. Just kind of working on a couple of these edges. And I'm doing this mostly because I don't know how much tilting I'm going to be doing, if any, with any of these dustpan pours. So I want to make sure the canvas is covered with the base coat. It just makes it easier so you don't have to go back and kind of touch up any edges. Because there is uncertainty with the tilting and how much of it's going to happen. So that looks pretty good. I got the flood coat on there. I got to pop a couple bubbles and wipe my hands off. But as we're doing that, the paints are kind of starting to do stuff, which I like. I like to layer my dustpan and then let the paints kind of sit there for a bit. They kind of blend together a little bit more and do some interesting things, which is kind of fun. So it's good to let it just sit there for a little bit with this direct pour technique. Okay, almost ready. So hopefully, we're going to leave a lot of negative space. I like to leave some nice negative space. It is a pretty base coat color, like Pat mentioned. So let's see here, almost done. And Carla's pointing out, painting your hands, not so bad. Painting your hair and on your shoes, you're in trouble. Yeah, it gets messy for sure. Okay, I'm ready to go. We got to do a little bit of torch work. Cool, I got it. And let's go ahead and let me get this centered here and pour on our dustpan. Now I'm Kathy. Oh, lots of comments, which is cool. So with this one, I'm going to get this tape thing out of the way. Instead of going in a big kind of zigzaggy motion like I've done on the past couple demos, I want to be a little bit more careful and thoughtful with how I roll the dustpan, that stream of paint over the canvas. I want to keep it fairly simple. So I think I'm going to start on this upper corner and just go in kind of a arc down to the side. And I might do a second, if we have paint left, which I think we will, maybe do another more of a straight band across. So a little bit more of an abstract, thoughtful composition instead of just kind of a crazy one. We'll see how it works out. I'm not sure. But let's give it a shot. So the first one here, I'm just going to start and move that paint kind of slowly to the edge of the dustpan, kind of going, rocking it back and forth very subtly so it kind of comes out even. It's common, and here we go. There we go. So I didn't quite hit the edge. That's okay. And I'm getting kind of some separation of bands there. That's all right too. So working on the flow. You don't need a perfectly even, band of paint, but I just want a mostly even kind of band, stream of paint coming out of the dustpan. There we go. So that's an interesting one. Now, let's see, I just want to do some subtle little tilting here just to kind of move, because we have a lot of paint right up in this area. It's where the bulk of the paint kind of wants to fly out of your dustpan. I just want to kind of move that down a little bit. And we definitely have plenty of paint on this canvas, so we don't need to add any more if we don't want to. But I'm just going to gently kind of move it and then assess what we have got. And so what I'm liking, I really love this edge we have. We've got this very interesting edge here with these round shapes. I love that. So I don't want to mess that up, because that kind of, to me, is kind of a very cool, interesting compositional shape. And I really like, we had those little breaks in our stream, but now we have these interesting kind of lines. I think that's kind of cool. So what I'm going to do, we've got a tiny bit of this green up here. I'm going to pour off this edge or this corner, because you've got a lot of paint right up there. That's kind of distracting. So I'm being, careful with not too much tilting. I'll take another look there. Okay. And I like this painting. I like what's happening. I love this edge. I'm in love with that edge. Back here, it's more of a plane. It's an interesting edge. It's kind of a simpler edge. I'm just thinking about what I want to do next. We've got some cells kind of popping up, which is kind of cool. And what I think I'm going to do, I don't think I'm going to add any more paint. We got plenty on there. I think, and I don't want to destroy anything in this side. I love this negative space. Love that cool edge. So I think I'm going to tilt a little bit more. I'm probably going to pour some paint off of this side of the canvas, just to get a little more interesting composition. Now you don't have to, of course. You could leave it if you really liked what was happening. I like what's happening. I just want to make it a little more interesting. And I think I might also pour off this corner up here. And hopefully I can stop in this green area. There we go. I'm going to bring this back down. Cool. So I think I'm going to leave. I really like what we just did there. I'm going to leave that. And it does look like we have kind of a negative space corner up in that top there, because it's that kind of darker version of our like turquoise green. We do have a little kind of sliver down here with an interesting edge. I really like the zigzaggy edge here, and it kind of transitions into that gold. And that gold is, I used the Liquitex Basics gold, and the Liquitex Basics gold is a semi-opaque gold, so you can kind of see through it, which is interesting. Those little streams, those ribbons on top, the colors are able to shine through that semi-transparent gold, which gives a very cool, interesting effect. So that's why I really like this direct pour method, because you can apply the paint, do a little bit of tilting if you want to, and you end up with a really interesting painting. And no one would even know this was a dustpan pour unless they knew about these interesting edges that you can achieve with the dustpan. I really love these types of edges. So I'm pretty happy with that one. That one turned out pretty cool. And I really like this kind of lightning that we have going through with the gold on the top. So kind of a cool painting, an interesting one. And but you never know what you're going to get when you do the direct pours, and especially the dustpan pours. You leave a lot to chance, but you just put it on there and then you work with what you got and come up with the best composition you can, or the best painting you can. I think this is a pretty interesting one. So not exactly what I was thinking about when I started. We did the band, but then we just kind of modified that, and this is what we ended up with. And I really quite like it. So To me, this is the best part. This turquoise next to this metallic purple. I think that's very cool. And then we got yellow in there on top of that. So I think I'm going to just move this aside, and we have got our first demo done. So I'm going to put that aside here. Let me move that, and then we'll get into our second one. So I'm going to flip back and put that over on the painting rack, and it's out of the way and safe. I'm going to just kind of clean up some of this paint. I've got, I'm just going to take a stick and just scoop out all of the paint that's in the dustpan. Just get the rest of that out of there. And then I'll just scoop up all the runoff paint, and we can save that for later. And so, but this is a way to clean your dustpan kind of right away. And if you do it right away, you know, it saves you from having to scrub on it or wait for the paint to dry and then try to peel the paint off. It will peel off depending on the type of plastic your dustpan is made from. I haven't tried it on this one, so I don't know if it would work or not, but this is kind of a easier way, I think. And let me get I need a cup. So I've got my palette knife. Just get the bulk of this paint. And I'll see if there's any questions. Thanks for the great comments, everyone. I like that. I'm happy that you like the painting. Our first one there. Oh, excuse me. All right. Sorry for all the coughing. It's been crazy hot here the last couple days, and I think I've got a little allergy thing going on. But yeah, I get those little coughing fits, and I hate them. You get that tickle in your throat. It's awful. So, okay. All right, let's take a look at this new tool that I found. And we're going to be using it as like a split cup dustpan pour. And it's, I found this on Amazon. I don't exactly know where I thought of this idea. I believe it was, I've seen people pour out of like ice cube trays a lot. And I always thought that's kind of a cool idea. It's kind of like a multiple split cup. But then I thought, oh yeah, they make these great big ones for these great big square ice cubes. And it's a silicone tray, so it's kind of flexible, which is not the greatest thing, but I don't think it's going to hinder us too much. I think it'll be stiff enough or sturdy enough. But you can fill these up with about 2.5 ounces of paint, each of these containers. And you could do just basically a split cup pour. You could have a lighter values, you could have middle values, darker values in each of these containers. And the other cool thing is you could do a 3-section split cup or a 2-section, depending on the size of your canvas or the band of paint, the size of the stream of paint you want to pour out. So we're going to give it a try and see what happens. I put this on my Amazon page in the pouring tools section if you're interested in checking it out. You get 2 of them for about $10. The prices vary wildly on Amazon with these things. But this one seems pretty cool. So, and I mean, the quality's fine. I think it'd be fairly easy to clean it. So, and it's silicone, so the paint should, technically peel out of it once it's dry. So we're going to give it a try. And let's see, I'm going to, I have my 12 by 16 again, another one here. And let's see, I'm going to probably just put this on top and fill it so I don't put it in our puddle of paint that we have on our table here. And by the way, I'm sure I'm not the first person to think of pouring out of these big ice cube trays. I guarantee you other people have thought of it and have probably done it better than I'm going to do it because I've never done it before. So, but I think it's going to be fun. So let's see here. All right. So I'm just checking to see if there were any questions during my coughing fit. But okay, no, I think so. A lot of great comments, though. Thanks for all the great comments. Keep chatting away. And let's get to layering this thing up. So what I think I'm going to do is put, like I mentioned, maybe the lighter colors in the first cavity here, middle values in the second, and then darker in the third. That'll give us more of a gradation pour across our canvas. And let me flip the camera and I'll show you kind of my thought process of this for this one here. So here we go. So what I'm going to do, again, kind of a gradated color scheme in these containers. And I'm going to do a split base coat on our canvas. So maybe a light strip at the top and then maybe a darker strip at the bottom. And then I'm going to pour out probably this way in almost a straight ribbon, perhaps. Maybe undulated a small amount just to get some more interest. But mostly just kind of a straight band of color. And that'll be kind of a gradation of color. And I'll probably go from darkest to lightest. And again, our light base coat will be up here and our dark base coat probably down here. Anyway, that's the thinking. We'll see what happens. I just have to remember to pour the right colors in the right hole here. So let's start with that. So I'm just going to work on the first one. And I'll fill this about halfway. If I fill it about halfway or a little bit above halfway, that's about 2 ounces of paint. So that would be about 6 ounces of paint in these 3 containers here, these 3 cavities. And that should be enough to cover like a band just across our 12 by 16. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to start with this dark kind of black color. I should probably pour this in a smaller cup. I'm just going to go for it. So I'm just going to layer these one on top of each other. I'm not going to pour down the side or anything. Just kind of pour them right on top. Because they're going to kind of come out all crazy anyway. So we'll just see what happens. A little bit of that purple. And I put that teal in second. And then here's some more of that dark. Oop, I got a drip in the light side from the dark side. Okay. And let's see. You can also add a tiny bit of lighter colors to our dark side. It doesn't have to be 100% dark. I'm going to put a little bit of gold in there, perhaps. A little contrast in our dark area. And then here is that kind of that green color. And that's about halfway, I guess. Maybe a touch Oh, maybe a touch more of that purple. Just a little kind of drizzle on top. So that's kind of our dark side. Let's go to our kind of middle value side. I'll start with this blue. And maybe I'll go to, and I want to incorporate a couple colors between the three, so they're a little bit more unified. So here's that teal color, that dark teal, and then here's the light aqua green. And then I'll put a little bit of this, even though it's the middle value, I'll put a little bit of light in here, this light blue. And perhaps I'll wait with the gold, maybe a little silver though. And let's see, what else? I'll go back to this kind of middle blue a little bit. And I'll leave the gold out of that middle slot, and I'll just put a little more silver. And that will be it for our middle values. Now for our light values, I'm going to start with this kind of light blue. And maybe some silver on top. Whoa, getting crazy with the silver. And I've got this light, this almost white color. I'm going to put some of this in here. I need to keep a lot of that for our last pour. And we have a little bit of, I'll put some of that like kind of pearlescent kind of lilac color in there. Why not? And then a little bit more of our blue. I don't know how these are going to come out of these little cubes, but we're going to find out shortly. A little more of this white, and I think we're good. So I'm going to see if I can lift this. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think it will, I can lift it and hold it. I think I can pour it out in kind of a nice ribbon stream of paint. I'll put that to the side. And now we want our light at the top and our dark kind of at the bottom. And I'm just going to spread this out with my palette knife. So I'm not going to go for the full flood coat deal on this one. I can always touch up the edges if I need to. And I want the black or the dark to kind of be more than 50%. I want that to kind of cover a good area of our canvas. And I put way too much on there, as per usual. Okay, this is looking better. And you can use your palette knife and just kind of push a little paint over the edges. That'll help it kind of roll down and at least give it a head start with covering. Of course, you could always use your hands too and cover it with your, use your hands to kind of cover the edges. That looks pretty good. All right, and I think yes, I'll go with my white here, I think. Actually, I'm going to flip this around. And Kathy's got a question. She's asking, are you keeping the consistency a slight mound? Yes, it's all just a slight mound. These are all just the easy formula that I'm using for all these paints. But yeah, a slight mound is the consistency across the board. They're all mixed the same. Good question, Kathy. Okay, I think I'm going to do, I want to conserve a lot of that white. Yeah, I'll just use it. I think I'll have enough. I don't need a ton on here. That'll be our light base coat color. Where'd my knife go? Here we go. So I'm just going to kind of blend these together slightly. I don't want to get too much white into the dark and vice versa. That's looking pretty good. And there we go. So I think we're in good shape. I'm going to move some of these paints out of the way. Now I got to turn it back around so I pour the right way. And I probably should have made this white band a tiny bit wider because now all the paint is going to be, I don't want it to be way up here. So I'm going to probably pour that dark like cube right through the center line here. So I have some of that base coat. All right. So here we go. Let me flip the camera so you can get a better shot of the paint coming out of this ice cube tray. And you can see what that looks like. So let me get this. So you can see I haven't covered all the edges, so I'm not really worried about that right now. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to be doing this slowly. So again, I'm going to try to put this dark cube of paint right on that line and work that down. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. So I'm going to start out slowly. I'm going to probably start off of the canvas here. The white wants to go quickly. There we go. And first of all, I don't like this. So we're not getting a steady pour of color. They're all separated, but that's okay. I think we can kind of work them together. So we made it to the end of the canvas. Just drop it down. I'll move that aside. And it works out okay. So they're kind of blending together. They're moving together, those puddles of paint, those three ribbons. Let's go to the top view and we'll see what happens. So a little different than what I was expecting, a little different than what I thought. But that's, you never know, I guess, until you try. So what I'm going to try to do is gently kind of rock these ribbons of color back and forth to kind of blend, to kind of get them interacting a little bit more. Because we have those barrier lines kind of in between them. So I'm going to first maybe move some of that paint on the edge down this way. Just kind of let it kind of rock back and forth a little bit. That looks okay. Let me go the other way. I'm going to pour a little bit off of this end. I don't love what's happening on that, where we started there. That looks better. So I'm just going to kind of work this kind of back and forth. It's interesting. It's an interesting look. It's different than what I thought was going to happen, but I like certain aspects of it. Let's see here. Now we could take this a little bit more extreme and do a little bit more tilting. Dump a little bit more off. We're getting a lot of cool stuff happening in the dark band up at the top. And also I like what's happening on the light band down at the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of work it back and forth a little. If we could break those up a little bit to give them a little more energy, so that it's not just a real straight line, but a little more undulating line, I think that would look kind of cool. Here we go. All right. So that is, I didn't really know what to expect with that one. I was thrown off a little bit by how the paint came out of those cubes, but I quite like what happened after that. It's an interesting painting. It's got a lot of kind of weird stuff in there. I love this dark area with this purple and this dark teal. We've got some little hints of that gold. That gold kind of got lost, but there are little hints of gold peeking through there, which is kind of cool. And I really like this bottom one, the light one with the silver and these kind of little ribbons of blue. And we put some of that pink in there, and you can see little hints of the pink. So interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite thing I've ever done, but it's very graphic though, and I like that aspect. You have the dark band at the bottom, the light band at the top. It's a very graphic looking design, which is kind of interesting. So I'm not quite sure what to think about it. I think I'll have to just let it sit there and dry, and then I'll look at it again and see, come up with some kind of you know, if I like it or not. I don't know. But I think I'm going to stop messing with it. So I don't know. It's okay. It's weird, but I kind of like it. I like a lot of parts of it. So, but it's just another, that was my first time using that thing. So that's what it does. Kind of, I think it'd be kind of cool to play around with it. Maybe you can kind of fine tune it to work a little bit better, perhaps. I think it would look cool if we had done more of a zigzaggy kind of pattern, because then the colors would be overlapping a little bit more instead of that straight kind of band that we did. But I don't know. It's growing on me a little bit. So yeah, I like it. So there is the second demo, a very out of the box kind of dustpan pour variation. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And then we'll get into our third and final demo. It'll be our large one. And that one should be fun. I'm excited about that. And then Lily has a comment, which is she's guessing that the tool would probably work well for a beach pour. I think it would. Yeah, you could get some, if you used, you know, put like a darker blue in darker blues in the top one, and middle value blues, and then lighter blues, whites. You can get a very interesting beach pour, I think, effect. So yeah, that would be very cool. I think I'll let these dry in here and see if I can pull out the paint. So see how that works. Good thought, Lily. Let's see. Okay, so finally, our third pour is going to be a 16 by 20, which I've got back here. And I'll have to zoom out a little bit. Let me do that. There we go. All right. So for this one, I'm going to pull out my big dustpan, and we're going to do a triple ring pour on a white base coat inside our dustpan and then pour it on a white base coat that's on our canvas. I think that's going to be pretty cool. So let's get going. Let's see, and I'm going to use these these small cups, the Dixie cups that I like so much, and fill each of these, layer these with maybe about 2 to 2.5 ounces of paint in each of them. And then I'll pour each individual ring pour in our white base coat inside the dustpan. So let's get started. I think I'll fill my cups first, and we'll see what happens. And then this one, I haven't really thought about how I'm going to fill these or what I'm going to put in them. So I'm just going to, I'll probably use a lot of the same colors. I'm not going to do like a dark, middle value, and light one. I'm just going to kind of fill them with similar colors, but vary them for the cups. I don't want them to all be the same. I like to, whenever I do a multi-ring pour, I like all the cups to be different in some way. So I think just the same layers, same colors is kind of boring in a multi-ring pour. So I'm going to just do one at a time, I think, and kind of grab these colors kind of random. I'll pour down the side, kind of like a traditional ring pour. And we'll see what we come up with. So that was the turquoise, or the turquoise and the silver. I think I'll put some of this, kind of that light blue. And I really like this light pink color. I'll put some of that in there. And maybe just one of each of these colors, one layer maybe of each. I don't want to use that purple. Maybe some silver again. I'll do this. Another one of those light blue layers, and then another one of the pink. So this is kind of a lighter value, although I started with that dark turquoise. So that'll be the last thing to come out of here. We'll see what happens with that. So this one, I'm going to start with the gold. I haven't used a lot of gold in these pours yet. Then maybe I'll go to the purple and add a little bit of contrast. Maybe some of this dark green, which I like. I'm going to use a little bit of that light blue. I want something that's similar or the same in each cup. Maybe the light blue will be what it is. And then maybe back to the gold. And a little bit more of the purple. And that's it for that one. So there's our second one done. Third one, what do I want to start with? So I started with that. I got gold in one of them. I started with that dark turquoise. Maybe I'll start with the white, actually. So I'll have a little light value in one of these. It's also going to be the base coat color. Then I'll go to silver. We have used silver before. Then I'll go back to the pink color. Maybe the blue again. We've used that. And then I'll go to the darker blue. Oh, no, maybe I'll go to the purple because we used the purple before. And we've used that dark green color. I'll use that. And so that will be our third cup. So we have kind of similar colors in various proportions and different spots in all of these cups. So I'm happy with that. So at least they will somewhat relate to each other on the painting. So let's go ahead and pour our base coat in here. I'm just going to pour that in like just a small layer, and then maybe I'll do a little tilting just to cover the bottom. Because I need to use kind of a lot of this space in our dustpan. And let's see here. Maybe I'll flip the camera again, then you can see a close-up of the ring pour. Here we go. So let's start with this light one. So I'm going to, this is the light cup that had a lot of the silver and that pink and blue in it. I'm going to start there. I'm going to pour it over here on this side and just slowly, and we'll see what happens. My hope is that we'll have enough space in the dustpan that these won't be colliding with each other, but that might be, I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to stop here. And I might come back to this, but I'm going to move to our other two cups first and just get those going just to see what kind of space I have. I think I'm going to have a space problem. There we go. And you could always do, which I might do, is 2 of these dustpan pours on this larger canvas. Okay, so here we go. Now we will have a barrier. The white will act as a barrier layer between these 3 pours. Let's see what happens. But if you get too much paint, I think you will overrun your barrier color. So there's a lot of purple already in this painting. But that's okay. We'll keep going. So I'm going to just stop right there. And let's pour this out. I'll put our base coat on. We might be doing 2 of these. So let's find out. I'm going to move this to the side. I'll flip back. And again, I'm just going to spread this out with my palette knife, the base coat. So you just want an even layer, kind of a regular even base coat layer. It doesn't have to be really thick at all. But I want it to be fairly even, just so that the paint kind of goes on it more evenly. And for the first time in the history of the world, I haven't put on enough paint. There we go. Almost got it. Cool. So I'm going to just torch this quick. I have a lot of air bubbles. So let's torch those out. And Monique's got a great idea. She says she thinks putting a marble through that might be cool, and it would be cool. Through running a marble through your triple ring pour, that would be very cool. Okay, just torching quick. That looks good to me. So let's go ahead and pour this out. So I'm going to move some of this out of the way just so I don't knock it over. I'm going to save these 3 cups. I might be visiting those again. Okay. Now I don't have a ton of paint in here, so it's probably not going to cover like the entire canvas. We'll find out. But again, I'm going to start up here. I usually start up here just because it's more convenient. You could start anywhere you want though, but you just got to think about moving it in an easy direction for you across the canvas. Like if I started back here, that's where you're going to go. But the easiest way to drag your dustpan. So for me, it's usually, I could start down here. Maybe I'll start down here and move it up this way, something like that. Let's see what happens. So I'm just going to work that paint towards the edge. And concentrate on getting as even a flow out of the dustpan as possible. At a, pretty decent speed, kind of consistent speed. There we go. This is looking pretty cool. I got to kind of focus on the shape I'm making though. I'm kind of running out of my light. Come on. I've ran out of my 1 cup and I'm almost out of my 2nd cup up there. So we could always do a little tilting and then move that paint a little bit. So there, we got a lot of breaks in the flow. So we have this jaggedy looks, but I'm not too worried about that. We can always pour another one, but let's work on this one first and just see what we can do with it, because we can always add to it. But let's just see what we get. So I'm going to start by just, again, gently kind of moving this paint around a little. I really like the barrier lines of the base coat. I think that looks cool. And I like we have the lighter colors at top and kind of the dark band in the center. It's kind of an interesting composition. So I'm just kind of seeing what's happening with the paint as I tilt. And because we don't have a flood coat, it's not moving as much as it would if we did have a flood coat. We spread that out, so it doesn't want to move quite as much. But that's okay. I think I'm going to add more and do another one. I think that would look cool. And we have a lot of negative space up here. That's almost too much. I like all of this that's happening down here, but we need something else, kind of something running through here. So I want to add a little more. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be a little tricky. I'm going to just wipe this edge off. Well, maybe I will leave it. I'll wipe a little bit. I'm going to wipe kind of the color out of the center there from our old ring pour, and we're going to add more white. I think I have enough. And then we'll continue with our ring pours. And I'll maybe add a little bit down here. If we have a little paint on the, let me get that color off. Have a little paint down here, it'll come off of the, shoot, I got paint on my gloves. Oh my gosh. Okay, I just wiped it all off. So we're going to start fresh. So I'm going to, let's see, what do I have that I can set this on? I've got a spare cup that I'll use as a little dustpan stand. And let's add some of our colors again. So I'm going to start with that light pour. Ooh. And let's go to this one, whatever it is. I don't know. I think this is the one that had a lot of gold in it. And our third. Okay. So I'm going to turn this just because I want a different angle and a different view of what's happening. So I don't tend, if you do the same thing over and over in the same kind of direction, you tend to do the same movements. I want to get a different angle and view so I don't do the same thing. So that looks pretty good there. And let's see. So I've got my 3 puddles again. And let's see where we're going to go. I want to come diagonally. Why? I don't know. I think that would look cool. And it's different. So I want to start not on a straight edge, but a diagonal, one of the corners. So I'm probably going to go up through here this way. And I don't want tons and tons of negative space. I want it to be different. So different is always good, and unexpected is always great. And that's a great design tip, is do something unexpected rather than like a typical or an expected move. So let's start. I'm going to focus on getting the paint out here evenly. And I'm not too worried about losing like a ton of paint. There we go. It's coming now. So I'm really covering this corner, and I want to pull some of this paint over I needed to have a little more white in there. That's okay. I'm trying to gently tap the dustpan in the base coat, and it's kind of pulling out that last little bit of paint. There we go. That's something. It's different. Let's go ahead and do a little more tilting, and we'll see what it looks like. Again, I just kind of want to go gentle, nothing too severe to start with. And as I'm tilting, shapes are moving and changing, and as the paint kind of touches the 2 big paint puddles, they change and move each other around. I'm going to pour a little bit of this off the edge here, and then maybe tilt back a bit. Let's just take a little look. I'm going to turn it back this way so you can kind of see it a little bit better. And that's an interesting composition. And I like that we started at a weird angle and kind of went through this way. Unexpected, and it definitely added a lot of interest and weirdness to this painting. I quite like it, actually. I'm going to, I think, pour off this corner. I don't like this dark line right here. I'm going to pour that off, and we'll take another look after that step. We'll just see what happens. So I got that line off. I'm going to move it back, and I could just use my finger as long as it's clean and just kind of pull some of this white. It's not clean. My gosh. Big old smudge. I'm going to just pull that off. Take the clean paint, and you can just kind of fill in this corner. Here we go. Because I really like this area. I don't want to kind of mess that up. So let's tilt back a little. Okay. Well, this is definitely a very organic and like strange painting, but there's a lot of potential with these like triple ring pours or even double ring pours in the dustpan. You can get a lot of cool cells. We got all kinds of cool cells and lacing happening, and I really like this. We have this kind of faint outline right here, so it kind of looks like this shape is floating above the white. So you have a lot of weird, interesting effects. And of course, you could do all kinds of stuff with this. Let's turn it around. Just take a look at it from a different point of view. You know, that's kind of funky and weird. I might tilt a little more of this just to bring all this color a little bit into this section. It's very bare up here. I think I'm just going to play around with it a little bit. I don't know if it's going to move, though, because we have all this paint here. All this paint's going to want to move. This paint is not going to want to move too much because it's been sitting a little bit. So I'll give it a little try, but I don't think it's going to move. No, we're just moving that great big puddle. Oh, maybe I'll move that a little bit. A little bit more. But then we're also, altering, all these colors bashing into each other, these paint puddles, they're all altering each other. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. So we're moving that paint in that corner a little bit more, which I like. I think that's enough. I'm going to turn it around. And just kind of move that paint back a little bit. Just ever so gently. There we go. So that is a multi-ring pour. And of course, you could change things and do a million different things with this. You could do colored base coats. You could do just 2 ring pours. Again, you could just do 1 ring pour if you wanted to. You could do one, and then you could add another one on top. I really like what happens when you have like a ring pour with like a base coat color, and then more base coat color goes on top of that first pour. So it's kind of like 2 layers sitting on top of each other, and then they kind of merge together. It's a very cool effect. And of course, you never really quite can predict what's going to happen. But we got a lot of cool, interesting things. I love these weird shapes. I think those are very interesting. So I think that is going to be it for these dustpan pour demos. Did a lot of different things. Tried a new tool out. With that was interesting results that we had. So hopefully it gives you a whole lot of ideas and gets the imagination fired up for things you could try and all the possibilities that you can do with a simple dustpan. It's really pretty cool, and it's a simple or pretty simple technique. Once you get the kind of controlling how to work the dustpan down, which takes a little time, it's full of possibilities. So let me flip back here, and and whoa, wow, what happened? There we go. So, any final questions before we break? And let's see here. Just check in to see if I missed anything. Cool. I don't see any questions coming in, but thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I learned some new things. We tried something a little different. We got 3 very interesting different types of pours using dustpans. I think the first one might be my favorite. I really like the results of that first one. That was the direct pour, but I really, really like these multiple ring pours in the dustpan too. They're just like so cool, and so many things can happen. So anyway, no questions. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I'll see you Friday. We'll do another demo, probably a dustpan. Who knows? And until then, give one of these a try, or more than one of these a try. Let me know what you think, and share them in the group. And let me know which of these different techniques most intrigues you and gets you wanting to do dustpan pours. So, all right, I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks so much. Have a great evening, and take care. Bye-bye.